Welcome to Go with Kyle Harbaugh.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Go with Kyle Harbaugh. I'm Matt Skye. By combining traditional business methods with AI, Kyle helps law firms, financial advisors, and a variety of businesses thrive in a changing world to build personalized roadmaps to success. Kyle, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let's jump right in. Why are clear and detailed job descriptions important both for employees and employers?
Yeah, this is a really important topic. Letting your people know what job they're signing up for is so important. That's how you can attract the right people. And then after you get them in there and they're working, it needs to be consistent, where if they get in there and all of a sudden the work that they're being asked to do isn't the work that was on the job description, you might have a problem. So it's really important, and also it's very important to have good job descriptions, because they might go back and read it. They might actually say, well, this is something that I'm supposed to do, and I'm never doing it. I'm always asked to do this other thing, and this doesn't really seem to be a priority. And so you lose credibility as the leader, as the company leader. So it's very important to have accurate job descriptions for several reasons.
Can we jump into that a little more? How do job descriptions impact that recruitment and hiring process?
Yeah, well, like I said in episode 1, understanding your vision, your mission, and your values is really important. And you should not necessarily include those in the job description, but they should be informing the job description. And maybe some of the things you put in there, like I said, the job description is how you attract your candidate. You need to have some kind of information that communicates your vision, mission, values, those sorts of things.
All right. So Kyle, can you share some examples of how well-crafted job descriptions have improved organizational performance?
Yeah. So for instance, I'll just use a personal example. I had a job description that didn't match at all what I actually did on a daily basis. I've talked to other people. What their daily duties are look very, very different than their job description. And so it's something that they won't find the support they need if that's not defined well, and they won't feel engaged as employees. They won't want to do the job, or they might think this one isn't really what I signed up for, or I am doing this job, but I'm doing all this other stuff, and the owners don't even know I'm doing it, but I am doing these other things. So there's several different reasons why it's important. I know this law firm owner, and we'll call her Doris. They love Doris. Doris helped so much. They've been with Doris, they've had Doris, for a very long time. But Doris does all these other things that they weren't even aware of. And then one day we wanted to update the job description, and all these other duties were not communicated at all. And if Doris had left, the owner of the law firm wouldn't have the slightest idea that these things were being done and how to do them and that sort of thing. And things creep, things change over time. And so it's really important to come back and update and possibly say, oh, you're doing too much. I'm going to assign that duty to somebody else. It makes more sense operationally, or, what have you, to shift this workload around so that everybody has a balanced workload and nobody feels like they're working extra hard and this other person is not working as hard as them, and, keeps everybody happy.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. You're right. People do oftentimes take on additional roles. Are there common themes you see with law firms particularly?
It's usually people going above and beyond. There's a lot of really good people who want to do a good job, or who want to see their law firm succeed. And so they're doing little extras. This is not an example of a law firm, but somebody else I'm aware of that their sales were much, much higher. And it was, they were getting a lot more referrals. And they said, well, the law firm owners, the owners of the company, they said, oh, well, if you're getting all these referrals, how are you doing that? And they said, oh, well, I'm just asking for it. At the end of when I sign somebody up, I say, who do you want to come with you? Who do you want to do this with you? And, a third of the time they bring somebody else along. And so they were having a lot more customers, they were bringing in much more customers than the other salespeople.
Right. Just that small additional question resulted in much higher sales.
Yeah. So it's important to understand what work is being done and how to improve that. That's got to be documented. If it's not documented, nobody knows about it.
So Kyle, what role do standard operating procedures play in maintaining consistency and efficiency across a company?
Great question. So standard operating procedures should be the gold standard. They should be the most efficient way to do something, and it should be consistent for several different reasons. So the first one is so that the work can be done in a way where everybody who comes into the law firm has a consistent client experience. The second reason is so that there's standards that are laid out clearly. And if those standards are not being met, you have an accountability mechanism. It's not, hey, the boss is picking on me because they don't like me. It's, no, this is the standard. It's written. This is what we expect all of our people to adhere to. You're cutting this corner, that corner, and it's affecting our client's experience. So there's lots of really good reasons to have standard operating procedures.
And how do you feel SOPs or standard operating procedures contribute to employee training and development?
Great question. So standard operating procedures are a great tool for employees to look over and refresh their memories. If you don't have standard operating procedures, guess what's going to happen? They're going to come to the boss and say, hey, boss, how do we do this? I forgot. I haven't done this in a little while. What's going on here? How do I make sure I get this done right? You're going to get interrupted. It's going to suck your time away. It's going to take up their time. Much easier to have these standard operating procedures accessible. Everybody knows where they are. And if they need to refresh their memory because they're required to do something, but they don't do it that frequently, it's all written right there.
And when you're implementing SOPs, standard operating procedures, what are the common challenges companies face during that process?
Yeah, so one thing that I see is people either haven't written them, and so they don't really know how to write a good standard operating procedure, or maybe they have them, but they haven't been updated. Things have changed. There's a better way to do it. Sometimes all it takes is talking with an employee and saying, hey, what are you doing? How do you do it? Can you please write it down and explain it to me? And sometimes, if they're a good engaged employee, they'll say, I've been thinking there's a better way to do this. What if we did this thing instead of what we're doing currently? And so I think a lot of people think that it's we did this, we checked the box, it's done, I don't have to worry about it again. It's important to update this type of thing along with the job descriptions. Update those things from time to time. Take time to work on your business. Don't just work in your business.
And how often do you encourage those types of employee check-ins like that?
It depends on the role. Depends on how much growth is happening. I would say at least once a year. Depends on what it is. It might be quarterly. Might be, twice a year. Just depends. That way, at least maybe they look at it and they say, no, nothing's really changed. I don't see any way to make it better. Easy meeting.
Yeah, definitely. And Kyle, we addressed this a little bit, but just to reiterate, how can organizations ensure that their job descriptions and standard operating procedures remain relevant and up to date?
Yeah, it's important to first just understand what needs to be done, who needs to do it, have it clearly spelled out so that two people aren't doing the same job and that everybody's working efficiently. And then it's very important to take the time to ask the question, hey, did anything change? Or is there a better way to do this? What are you doing? Just asking questions, being curious, having open dialogue with your team so you can understand what it is that they're doing and how they're doing it, if there's a better way that you could improve upon it somehow. And asking them for input. I think that is one of the most overlooked things in organizations is the bosses, the managers. I feel like they have to have all the answers, but they don't. Actually, it builds a lot of trust if you can say, hey, if we were to improve that, what would we do different? If we were to make this faster, or how could we make this better? Asking open-ended questions that gets your employees thinking can really make a difference so that you can update your standard operating procedures or your job description to really make it the best that it can be.
And how can bosses and managers foster a culture like that where employees do feel comfortable asking maybe sometimes difficult questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest thing is treat people like they're your kids. Talk to them like they're your kids, that you care about them, that they matter. You should know more than just about their skill set or whatever it is. You should build a relationship with them. And you might say, well, that feels a little fake. I don't really care. Well, you should care. And just simply knowing a little bit about their life, about their family, about their interests, what makes them tick, will go so far. And if you build a relationship with them, get them to open up, they'll really partner with you and see you as somebody they trust. But you have to build, trust is built on a relationship. It's not this transactional thing that you can just force. It takes time.
And am I wrong? Because what it sounds like you're doing is not only just the right thing to do, helping create relationships and people connecting with each other, but it's actually more profitable in the end. You're getting more out of your employees when they're productive and happy.
Yes, exactly. They feel a sense of loyalty, a connection. Part of their identity becomes, I work for this place and they care about me and I want to see them win and they want to see me win. And when you have those two pieces working, where the company or the law firm wants to, see the employee benefit and grow and develop, that's super powerful. And the employee in the same turn wants to enhance and make the company, the law firm, better. So it's very powerful. It takes time. It does take effort. There's some really good tools and methods to foster that. Yeah, it takes time. It takes intentionality.
So I think we're sold on the premise, but let's get into some of the practicalities. What practices do you recommend when it comes to writing effective job descriptions and standard operating procedures?
So it's very important to have a lessons learned area in your standard operating procedures so that yes, you've implemented the standard operating procedures, but these other things happen, these other problems happen. And so after you get into it for a while, you might, say, hey, make sure you do this or make sure you don't do that. Maybe there's a certain order that you need to, do these steps that works better. I know this is completely unrelated, but you don't paint and then prime. You prime and then you paint. So it's
a good analogy.
Yeah. There's certain things that it just works better if there's a certain order, or it doesn't work at all if you get that order wrong. Both are really important steps, but you got to do them in the right order. So it's important to get everything squared away, and that takes communication. You're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to want to look for feedback. You're going to want to iterate on it over time. You don't have to figure it all out at once. Just understand that you're going to come back to it, and that's really how good organizations are going to be able to grow and operate better. It's not just a check the box, get it done. It's an ongoing process, and somebody has to follow up.
Yeah, I think the fluidity of that is an important point, the ongoing process. As we wrap up, if you had one key takeaway for our listeners today, what would that be?
I would say if it's not documented, it doesn't happen, or it's not going to happen consistently. And then once it's documented, you have to have somebody follow up. You have to have somebody inspect the work and hold somebody to a consistent standard. And so that goes back to the documentation. You have to have things documented so things are applied in a consistent manner.
So document.
That's right.
Everybody, thank you so much. You've been listening to Go with Kyle Harbaugh. Learn more about how to bring vision, mission, and values to your business at chiefgoofficers.com and on social media. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.